everybody. Welcome to Do Not Talk. I'm CharLee Simons here talking about everything you're not supposed to talk about. Talking to the people I'm not supposed to talk to. Whatever. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you share these shows. And hit that like button right now, would you please? That helps with the algorithms. And if you comment down below, just say anything. And it's my understanding with the algorithm thing is so you're not determined to be a bot. You have to type, when you comment, it's got to be like 5 words or more. So, hey, CharLee, what's going on? There's at least 5 words. Arthur Schaper is my guest today, and he's great. I love talking to him. We're talking about something that's very crucial and vital, not only to California, but the nation and the world, because as California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. As the nation of the United States of America goes, so goes the rest of the world. There is a push to, oh, goodness. Have you heard about what's going on in Los Angeles? They don't call themselves communists, but that's what they are. Democrat socialists. Who are really pushing to do a Mom Donnie style thing. And they are going to, they're openly discussing closing down golf courses to build cheap housing there. They want this whole smart city thing. They want to usher in the new world order, the one world government. That's exactly what this is. They want a New York, California with Mom Donnie. They're pushing that kind of candidate for mayor of Los Angeles, which is the second largest city in the nation. Vitally important what's going on there, and a very hapless, feckless Republican Party in Los Angeles doesn't help. The Central Committee, last report I heard, they don't even meet, of the Republican Party. I'm sorry, what? And you got over 3,500 communists getting together and plotting the overthrow of the city of Los Angeles. That's just the beginning of what they want to do with the golf courses. There's so much more. Arthur's got the report on that, but also we're going to be talking about the importance of the governor's race. The primary election is this coming June, the first Tuesday of June. If we don't show up for that, and we've got a dismal track record as Republicans of showing up for midterms and primary elections. We suck at it. So here we got a primary to decide who's going in the midterms come November, who's going to be the governor of the state of California. We've had 8 years of a reign of terror of Gavin Newsom, Governor Hairdo, truly the worst governor the state has ever had. We've had several recall attempts. All of them have failed, whether it was through cheating, whether it was through it was poorly done on our side, a combination of all of the above. We have not been able to recall that clown. Nobody I know of, even on the left, says, yeah, Gavin Newsom's great. Nobody I know supports this clown. He's been a tragically bad governor, but yet they still keep voting for him because he has in front of his name. That's it, period. Plus, when you have millions of illegals voting, thanks to the governor before Gavin Newsom, Jerry Brown, talk about a train wreck, and he got 2 terms. That's on top of the 2 terms he had back in the 70s and 80s. What is wrong with Californians? What is wrong with my own fellow Californians? A lot. So today we're focusing on what's considered the 2 front runners by the California Republican Party. Talk about feckless, practically worthless. That's Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. That's who we're going to talk about. This recently came to my attention because I like Steve Hilton. I've not been able to interview Chad Bianco. I've met him. He agreed to come on my show, but then every time I've tried to get him on, I've been shot down. It's never happened. He's not going to be on my show. I'm way too conservative. And I've done shows with Vim Miller, the one that he falsely accused was trying to assassinate President Trump, then candidate Trump. Down in Southern California. The whole thing was just so ugly and ridiculous. And the kneeling at a BLM rally, it wasn't a rally, it was a protest. And he did it to supposedly quell any kind of violence that might be happening. So he took a knee during the protests. And I've showed the video. I've shown it to you. It's been on the show, but he says that he was praying and that it's taken out of context and we didn't see the whole thing and so on and so forth. Okay, fine. I know that Arthur is a supporter of Chad Bianco, and I don't have a problem with that. I just want anything other than another Democrat running my state. Seriously, a rusted out fire hydrant that's been tagged by every male dog in town would be better than another Democrat at the helm of California. But how effective can they be if all the other offices are all the supermajority of Democrats? We saw what happened with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Republican governor coming in, hitting a wall of leftist freaks who did everything they could to stop him in his tracks, and they effectively did. Several times took things that he wanted to get done. He did it the right way. He held special elections, and they were all screaming about the cost of that, while at the same time they're frauding and defrauding and stealing millions and even billions now, as we know, in the state of California for their little programs and their little non-governmental, their NGOs, their charities. It's insane. I think that California is about to have a whole bucket of hell poured down on their governance with President Trump. And I thank God for that, with the investigations going on with the Department of Justice, the FBI, election fraud, voter fraud. All this is about to come down, and it's coming out this year. It's happening, 2026. So I've never interviewed Chad Bianco, and it might be because he knows that I would ask him about those things I just covered. And he doesn't want to talk about those. He doesn't want anybody bringing that stuff up. But I have interviewed Steve Hilton, and I liked him. It was really tough getting him on my show. He promised several times, 5 times, before finally I went through somebody else to get him onto my show. And then at the end, he goes, yeah, I really enjoyed this. And his people said, yeah, Steve will come on again anytime. He hasn't, but I just recently found this, and it bothered me.
4th of July special. As we say at the start of every show, and we did tonight, one of our missions is to be pro-family. So we wanted to share with you a new documentary out later this week called Fair Play that shines a light on family gender roles and the overlooked challenges of domestic life. Take a look.
When I became a mom, I felt like my identity completely changed.
I really didn't understand the amount that she had to endure.
Es una presión tremenda.
Tremenda, yeah.
It goes back to the twisted notion of, well, you just got to ask for their help. I don't want to ask.
Joining us now is the writer and producer of Fair Play, Jennifer Siebel-Newsom. Jen, great to see you. It's so easy to say we're pro-family. Everyone says we're pro-family, but what is it in reality? It's a whole different thing. And what I love about this film is that you really focus on the specifics of what it means to be pro-family and what we need to change in order to make America more pro-family.
That's right. Thank you. So really, what we need to do in America is recognize that the majority of households are dual income households.
That is Jennifer Newsom. That's the wife of Gavin Newsom. And it was real tough to find that interview. Real tough. That's why nobody else is seeing it. But Steve Hilton interviewed Jennifer Newsom. Another thing that's been edited from that video is at the very beginning of the original interview that he did with Newsom. He said, full disclosure, she's a good, close personal friend. Well, in that one we just watched that was posted on YouTube, and the only one I could find, that's been cut out. Why? Jennifer Newsom she's a film producer. And she has made millions off of forcing schools to show her propaganda to children. Most of it, the homosexual stuff. She's big on that. Telling the kids it's all okay. Try to find a compilation of Jennifer Newsom's children's videos. Couldn't do that either. I did find this guy, though.
Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom's wife reportedly made millions of dollars by getting a requirement that public schools show certain films in motion.
How about that?
The Daily Caller reports that those films were about intersectional gender justice based on reporting by Open the Books, a watchdog group. Jennifer Siebel-Newsom, the wife of Governor Newsom, runs a nonprofit named the Representation Project. This is a group that purports to fight sexism through the use of films and other educational documents. According to the Open the Books, The group charged California schools between $49 and $599 to stream the films it put out.
Dang.
Records show that Jennifer Newsom has brought in $1.5 million in film licensing.
We paid for that.
And another $1.7 million in sales of the documentaries her group has put out, including The Great American Lie and Fair Play. These films are about systematic inequalities and gender throughout the country. Jennifer Newsom wrote and directed these films, and they have been shown in 5,000 schools across all and have been exposed to these films.
Not just California.
And Newsom has been able to rake in an incredible amount of money from creating these films. The average cost to stream the films was $270, according to reports by the Daily Caller.
Wow.
Some curriculums come with the films and are meant to be paired with them. This means that the students get the full impact of the film that Newsom is aiming for.
You understand what he said there? That's part of the curriculum of schools now. And of course, the majority of people who are running schools these days are just leftist freaks. They truly are. Public schools. It's bad. It's so bad. How do we fight against this? I don't know. Let's start by getting an actual governor in place. Arthur Schaper on the show. Are you ready? Hit it.
Oh,
dang,
man.
buddy.
Oh,
dang.
I cringed when I saw Siebel Newsom appear on the screen there with Steve Hilton. You'll probably hear me in the background go, no, please put that away. Please just get rid of it. And if that makes you cringe, I just sent you a photo. You can see Steve Hilton giving Gavin Newsom a big hug. Let me tell you something. When I shared that photo, people said, that's AI, that's fake. No, that can't be true. I went to the original photographer. That was a fundraiser for Gavin Newsom for his lieutenant gubernatorial bid in 2016, 10 years ago. And there was Steve Hilton, a good friend of his, giving him a big hug. So there's that. But I welcome broad discussion and open discussion on this. The California governor's race, I am cautiously optimistic. I really think we have a chance here, voter fraud notwithstanding, crime and corruption notwithstanding. I think that
sorry for interrupting you, but I was on a conference call yesterday with somebody, a Republican, railing against both front runners and saying they're not strong candidates and they're not taking the lead, and we need Mel Gibson to enter the race and this kind of stuff. And so I came on and said, they're not strong candidates. I believe they're both polling higher than anything the Democrats are offering. How can you say they're not strong candidates? I think they both absolutely are. And Hilton and Bianco have been neck and neck with polling, depending on how much you put any stock in polling. But no, I think either one of them would do a far better job than what we've had for the past 16 years.
Yes.
Truly.
The key
We
thing
have
I'm
not
looking
had a Republican governor in 16 years.
The key thing that I'm hungry for is a law and order presence in Sacramento, who will work with the White House, who will deport the illegals, who will assist federal law enforcement as much as possible. I think it was a noteworthy point that you brought up, where there are still a lot of Democrats running around in Sacramento, both the legislature as well as the other constitutional offices. But think about this. If we get 2 Republicans in the top 2, and a number of polls have indicated this, Bianco and Hilton being in the top, you're going to see a drawdown of you're going to see a diminishing number of Democrats voting. That could put other offices in place, certainly legislative seats, perhaps constitutional offices as well.
I hope so. David Serpa. I like David Serpa. He has stepped down and he is announcing that, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this yet, but I believe he's running for Secretary of State.
Okay.
Which would be fantastic. I think that's what he's going to run for instead, which is fantastic.
Again, a rusted hydrant that's been defiled by many dogs would be better than any Democrat. As you said earlier in the show, I think anybody could step in with a real commitment to election integrity. I think David could do the job. We need to have a really strong slate. I think that we've seen candidates stepping up. I think it's very silly. A lot of activists and grassroots types, they think, let's get a famous person. I mean, Schwarzenegger pulled it off, true, but you see, he had spent a lot of time doing that, and he had worked on an initiative that would provide more funding to schools so that kids would have more after-school activities from 3 to 6. It was kind of a minor thing, but it gave him an opportunity to campaign around the state in 2022 and in 2023 before he announced his run for governor in connection with the recall. So he had more political.
You mean
2002, 2003, right? So I don't want Schwarzenegger to run again. That's for sure. So no, not again, please.
Screw your freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And I say, screw you. Screw you, Arnie, just the way you screwed everybody but your own wife. So that's another thing, right? So we used to call him Arnold Schwarzenhousekeeper, because that's a pretty accurate name.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. You've done 2 articles in Town Hall, both of them great. One really focusing on Steve Hilton, the other one on Chad Bianco. And so let's talk about them both here and those articles. Steve Hilton was part of David Cameron's. That was when the conservatives, the Tories, right? I think they are, beat the Labor Party, and he was prime minister for just one term. But Steve Hilton was part of that cabinet, and Steve Hilton fought for a lot of really good conservative things, but socially,
no, he really wasn't conservative at all. I did some investigating into this. You have articles by The Guardian. This is in 2010, 2000, even before, when David Cameron was the opposition leader against the David Blair and then Gordon Brown governments, the Labor governments. The fact is that Steve Hilton came in to give the Tories, the UK conservatives, a facelift, a makeover to make them more liberal. They changed he pushed them to the left on abortion, pushed them to the left on all the gay rights or gay privileges nonsense, pushing them to the left on climate change. Now, I will say to his credit, and I did question Steve Hilton about this after the debate in Garden Grove at Calvary Chapel, West Grove. They did immense cost cutting. They slashed so much of the bureaucracy at the time. That is true. The successes were so great that The Economist had a picture of David Cameron with a mohawk on his head because it was so radical, the amount of reforms and cuts that had been taking place. However, all of that got washed away shortly after David Cameron took a stance against Brexit, didn't want to leave the EU. The economic problems have only gotten worse. The economy has stagnated in Britain. The Tories were terrible on immigration. They opened up the borders, mass legal as well as illegal immigration. Now, true, Hilton left the Tory government in 2012. But the fact is, if his legacy, one of the things he's championing is his work with the Cameron government, it was nothing but a failure in the end. The Tories are now one of the least popular parties in Britain. Nigel Farage's Reform Party is displacing the Tories as the center-right opposition to the current Labour government.
Pray for his success. Pray for his success.
We all are. And he's a real conservative party. David Cameron pushed same-sex marriage. The conservatives pushed same-sex marriage in the United Kingdom. That's part of Steve Hilton's legacy. No, thank you. The radical abortion. They have it so radical in the United Kingdom that if you pray outside of an abortion clinic, you can go to jail. This is how radical the abortion agenda is in the United Kingdom. It is horrific. It is horrendous. Abortuaries abound, and they have the full protection of the state. Anybody who protests them faces sanction or prison time. It's outrageous. This is Steve Hilton's legacy. That's a hard no for me. And I don't care how many times he says Donald Trump. I don't care how many times he's been on Fox News. He's a news anchor. I think Chad Bianco, I went to one of his fundraising events in Long Beach, and this was it was someone's home, and this wasn't like some big fantastic event with cameras outside. He was talking to individual voters, including friends of mine who've been in the health freedom movement, like Maureen Quinn. She was a friend of that Long Beach home owner, and that was the key thing that has resonated with a lot of people, including myself. Chad Bianco stood up to the governor and said, I will not enforce any of these lockdown, mask mandate, health mandate nonsense is coming out of the governor's house. That to me covers a multitude of any failures that anyone can list. Now, let me just clarify. My first article was about the setup. Californians can win the governor's race. Here's the breakdown. Here's the status. Here's what can be done. The second article, I compared Hilton and Bianco predominantly. I've talked about the strengths. Let me add a few more things for Steve Hilton. To his credit, he is very articulate. He is very sharp. He is very knowledgeable. He's been around the world. He was an established news presence. He knows how to communicate. He's very strong with Trump. He's written books. He's talked about the whole populist movement. So there's that. Now let me talk about Chad Bianco. Speaking to positives, I mentioned his standing up for health freedom. This to me is huge. I don't think you can underestimate or dismiss this enough. There are liberals, people center of the road, even far left. They joined the health freedom movement. I knew Bernie Sanders supporters who were protesting the lockdowns and the health mandates, along with conservatives here in Los Angeles County. They were so angry with the health mandates and the vaccine mandates. It frustrated, infuriated them. So you see that kind of cross-party connection. Something else that doesn't get enough attention about Sheriff Bianco, he defeated an incumbent, a multi-decade incumbent named Stan Sniff. This is in Riverside County. There were corruption issues. There were misconduct issues that abounded. And Stan Sniff was not issuing CCWs except to select few. And that's what a lot of sheriffs do. They pick and choose their friends, and they'll let them get a CCW. This is way before the Bruin decision in 2022. That was one of the reasons. I was talking to Republicans who were helping Bianco in 2018. They wanted to get rid of Sniff because they wanted to release the CCWs. Well, that's one of the first things Bianco did when he got elected. He set up a one-stop shop. You go there, you put in your application, because we still have there's still the regulatory schema. You have to apply for the CCW. We're not constitutional carry yet. But if you pass the test, if you weren't a felon, you got the CCW. He turned Riverside County into a shall issue county. That's a big deal. Don Barnes of Orange.
And the difference is, don't miss this one word that Arthur just said, shall instead of may. A lot of sheriffs, deputies, a lot of counties are may issue. This is shall issue. That's a big difference.
Huge. Donald Barnes, the Orange County sheriff, that's a redder county than Riverside, right? He was may issue, pick and choose. Of course, LA County, almost nothing was released. Even when we had Republican sheriffs in LA County, Lee Baca comes to mind. Oh, he was corrupt. Only his best friends would get a CCW. It was so dishonest. It was so swampy. But with Bianco, he flipped that. He pushed that aside. And this is a big deal. Even campaigning statewide now, he has not run away from the gun rights fight. We have had so many Republican candidates for governor. I didn't hear John Cox talking about gun rights. I didn't hear Neil Kashkari talking about gun rights. Meg Whitman didn't talk about gun rights. I can tell you that. Schwarzenegger, I don't remember what his record was, but he sure didn't talk about expanding your right to carry. And that's become essential now with all the crime, with all of the breakdown of law and order, the defund the police nonsense, the lack of resources, the demoralization.
I would love to know the stats. I would love to know the crime stats. Have assaults and so on gone down since the bad guys now know that the good guys are carrying, possibly. I'd love to know what the stats are. How effective has that been? Because I know in the county where I live, it's been very effective. Been great, as a matter of fact. But
I can tell you, Arizona has witnessed a huge drop in crime. I do know that when Illinois was forced to implement a permitting regime, there was no issue in Illinois. Forget about May issue. There was no issue. Court order mandated it. 2013, the legislature finally passed a permitting schema. And in Cook County, people were obtaining permits. Not a lot, but crime did go down. Right away, when the bad guys know that the good guys can have a gun, right away you see crime diminish.
It's a great equalizer, that's for sure.
Yes.
Let's get back to what I was saying. The problems that so many people have with Chad Bianco. Many of them have seen that video of him kneeling during that BLM protest. They're disgusted by it. They came up again in that call I referenced earlier last night. This guy goes, "I will never vote for anybody who kneeled to the BLM."
Oh, brother.
Black Lives Matter.
It's getting
And
on
I'm
the
like,
point. It's
dude,
just
are you
funny.
serious? So you're telling me you're just going to let the Democrats run away with it because you're not going to
But
get
see,
past that one event?
And I have to go further. There's a great video, gun owners of, I think it's just California gun owners, I think it's called. I include that video in the second article. I linked it where he was praying with Black Lives Matter. There was no sheriff that I know of in the country that goes into the heart of the problem, like in downtown Riverside. That's where Bianco was. And he says, look, you have a right to be here. He was trying to diffuse a very bad situation. In LA, it was terrible. I was in the midst of it in Santa Monica. They were looting stores. I was so naive. I thought everything had passed on, and we went to see the aftermath that was still going on. Very bad on my part. Big mistake. My friend was able to get us out of there really quick. We were driving. We went up PCH, and then we went east on Santa Monica Boulevard to get out of Santa Monica, and we saw the sheriffs finally show up. The deputies showed up in their riot gear in LA County. No offense to Villanueva. I think he was in Long Beach trying to push back on some of the rioting there. In fact, he was in the field. But there to see Bianco right in the center, speaking to the leaders of BLM, saying, okay, look, let's solve this. You have a right to be here at peace. Now, I looked at that video. You see BLM kneeling with him. I don't know of any other experience or confrontation where that ever happened. It was always law enforcement only did the kneeling. Right away, it says to me, this is different. You can
You've
see in
seen
that
a video
same-
that I have not seen then.
I'll send it to you. And everybody should, and it's okay to ask. We don't want law enforcement.
It's not okay
tell-
to ask. Bianco gets very defensive and downright angry.
He
and
should,
there's a
because
lot of shows he will not go on because we bring that up or we ask him about it.
Well, here's the funny thing. He's been on a number of programs and he has spoken to that. So, I mean, that's my response. If he's not been on your show, I'm going to tell people that he should be. Okay. So I'm going to make sure of that. If Hilton could do it, he needs to do it. So there's that. But you can look at the video yourself. One of the best parts, nobody captured this. You've got BLM, some of them kneeling, and there he's kneeling with them. And then some of them said, why aren't the rest of your police officers kneeling with you? He literally says, I cannot make them pray. I cannot make them. He respects the First Amendment of his own officers as well as everybody else. You know how many police chiefs and officers and leaders were making their staff, their deputies kneel to kowtow to BLM? It was horrific. Bianco did not do that because he chose to pray. He's allowed to do that. If people have a problem with people kneeling to pray, I can't help them. Now, people can scream about optics all they want, but you know what? If I'm a sheriff, I'll risk bad optics to save a community, to make sure there's no violence and everybody goes home safe. And that's what happened in Riverside. That didn't happen in LA. I don't know what happened in Orange County. I know it didn't happen in San Francisco. I know it didn't happen in Oakland. That's a big deal to me. But I'll go a step further. I don't care if people try to splice this. I don't care if Bianco danced the Hully Gully with Black Lives Matter. The fact that he resisted health mandates, opened up shall issue, the fact that he beat an incumbent, twice elected in a blue county, that he has rigorously enforced the rule of law, that he has pushed back on all the nonsense. He's not afraid of Donald Trump, but he also recognizes a need to provide a realistic program to make California livable again, let alone great again. This guy has it. All the other candidates, this is my challenge to every person. You support Mercury, you support Hilton, you support Herms. Give me the positives. What do you like about Mercury? 9 times out of 9.5, a lot of the supporters of other candidates, all they do is bash Bianco. I'm like, you don't have something positive to tell me?
Oh, you haven't watched my shows then, because you've mentioned two men.
I've been doing a lot of stuff, but I'm listening to positives. Now, here's the other thing: Daniel Mercury. I know the guy was a health freedom advocate too. He served in the military. God bless him for all of that. But here's ultimately the difference that matters to me. Bianco got elected and used his power to protect our freedom and risked his money and risked his office. True. Daniel has not been elected. We need someone who has that experience, who's been elected twice in a blue county and has manifested authority and has demonstrated it. He's also part of the National Sheriff's Association. He's part of the larger law enforcement movement. And I think that's really important. All of these things inspire me. And that's why from the get-go, I said, I'm getting behind this guy. I like him. So if people want to type in the background, or if you got pushback, and I wrote, okay, so let's be fair. I gave you some of the pushbacks about Hilton, the things about Bianco. I've had residents in Riverside County. They've complained to me about the foster care system. The sheriff is in charge of that. Okay. I don't think it's fair to blame the sheriff for every single thing that happens in a bureaucracy. Someone at the top can't be in charge of everything at the bottom. But if they're upset, they're upset. I respect that. I know some Republicans who were running for office, and the sheriff did not endorse them. He went along with the incumbents on the Board of Supervisors. He endorsed Chuck Washington, who was a Democrat, who was on the Board of Supervisors. That's a common occurrence, whether we like it or not.
Who did that?
So Sheriff Bianco endorsed Chuck Washington for the board of Riverside County Board of Supervisors. There was an election. It was in 2024. So he did endorse. He endorsed a Democrat. This is a common practice. Sheriffs will usually endorse the incumbents because they have that relationship. It's supposed to be nonpartisan. It's about ensuring law enforcement. Now,
There's
I know
nothing
that
nonpartisan anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
That's
I don't care
fine.
what the position is.
So that's a legitimate criticism, but to me, it's a small matter. Chuck Washington is small potatoes. He's an old guy. Half the time he has to walk out of the meetings. I was at one of those meetings in Riverside County.
Really?
And I can tell you that small endorsement thing doesn't diminish all of the things that Bianco has succeeded at. Hey, I voted for Dianne Feinstein, everybody. If you want to hang me from a tree, go ahead. We had 2 Democrats to choose from in 2018, and De Leon was worse. He was a brown Nazi who would have opened up this country. Feinstein was a better choice. She was old, decrepit, didn't do anything, and she was actually pretty conservative the way she stood up to some of those green activists who harassed her in her own office. And she was pretty good on immigration for the most part of her life. So you choose the best you can.
And she packed heat.
And she carried a gun, but she took our guns away. So that's a legitimate criticism. Don't get me wrong.
She took our guns away, but she got to carry.
The assault weapons ban is bad. I get it. But remember, we had 2 Democrats in 2018, so it's not like we could get a Republican. We do need to change Prop 14, but it's another argument. It's okay. This issue about what happened at Coachella Valley, I'm getting mixed messages about that, or mixed stories. I got to watch your interview. That's fine. I will give you the benefit of the benefit. If Bianco went too far, then that's wrong, but I'm still going to say he's the best candidate. If we want to play this game, Donald Trump was okay with abortion up to birth. He took photos with DACA recipients. Donald Trump had hired illegal aliens when he was a business mogul building stuff in New York City. I didn't support Trump initially in 2016, okay, because those were concerns for me. But I'm looking at the results, and he's doing a great job as president. And I see the same thing. Bianco's better. There is a record. Pro-gun, pro-life, pro-family, not afraid to pray in public. And this is not just about BLM. He prayed at his inauguration. He supports the First Amendment. He defeated an incumbent. We need a record of success, not just strong advocacy. That's going to always be my argument, whether it's the Serpas of the world or the Mercuries or the Herms. Have you been elected? How far have you been elected?
We have a strong bench on the right. We really do. All the candidates for governor have impressed the heck out of me. But Chad Bianco, you're correct, is the only one who has actually won an election and has served for a while and has that kind of experience.
He's won 2 elections.
Won 2 elections. You're right. No, that's true.
And full disclosure, I'm not paid by the campaign. I mean, I've showed support to him publicly, but I'm not like paid or propped up. This is me as a citizen seeing the best person for the job, and that's why I chose him. Now, if Hilton is the Republican nominee, I'll vote for him. I think he's better than Kashkari. If it's Mercury, of course I'll vote for him. The only one I really was concerned about, and I'm glad he dropped out, was Serpa. I don't know if we talked about that briefly. I confronted him, and I think this does matter. Because the Republican Party, it's bad enough when we have these cultural liberals, like Steve Hilton to an extent. But, Serpa, when I confronted him after that debate in Garden Grove, he talked about nationalizing industries. He talked about credit card caps. This is all communistic. This is all government intervention in the economy, which is bad. We don't need a Marxist Republican Party. I am flatly opposed to that, and we cannot let that creep in. So the word nationalize really said, and I confronted him about that. And he's like, well, I'm a nationalist. It's like, wait a minute. Nationalizing an industry does not make you a nationalist. It makes you a collectivist. That is a serious problem. I'm not going to tolerate that. We can't tolerate that. But as a Secretary of State, he's not going to be pulling the strings on economic development. So I don't have a problem with it if he's the Secretary of State.
I would not call him a creep. He's a combat Marine veteran.
Did I say creep? His policies are creepy. Let me put it that way. I can't do that, though. We really can't. It's not good. This is the other thing I got to talk about with Serpa. Oh, man. He told me it's cheaper to go out to eat than to buy at the supermarket. It's like, no, it isn't. He literally said that. I'll send you the video. And he said people are using their credit cards to buy food. And I said, nobody's forcing you to use your credit card. Well, we need to cap the credit card interest rates. You do that, there's fewer people who will get credit cards. This is communistic.
And it never works. It's like rent control. Nope. All it does is make things far, far worse. It's free market.
It's got to be free enterprise, baby.
Let the free market, free enterprise work, but they don't. Government loves that power. It's like a swollen, infected machine that keeps growing and growing and feeding itself.
We're living it in California. The behemoth that is swallowing up every facet of our society in California. And we do not need to add to the fire. So there it is. Bianco versus Hilton, town hall. They said you can give an analysis, but you can't make endorsements. We're not going to print individual endorsements, and that's fine. So I try to give as much of a balanced view of both candidates as I could. I must say, I'm very sad. We're seeing a lot of drama between Bianco versus Hilton camps across the state. That bothers me. I think we need to really focus on the larger mission. I have stood my ground. I've had some people been very sharply critical. I think another criticism people have made about Bianco regards immigration. I was not happy when he said, I don't want police working with ICE. And I go, no, I disagree with that. I said to him, or something like, police should not they shouldn't be dealing with immigration. Excuse me. It should not be their job to enforce immigration laws. I do disagree.
No, but they should be there protecting the federal agents who are coming in to enforce that law.
I do agree with
and
that.
They don't, as we know. That's how
they do not, but he doesn't oppose them doing their job. I want to make sure I'm doing this accurately. He was saying, I want to make sure I'm clear about this. Bianco says, I don't want local police doing immigration work. Now, I disagree with that. I'm all for 287G. Now, that's something I'll tolerate for now, because President Trump in 2016 talked about, we're going to go after the criminal illegals. No, they're all criminals. I want them all gone. Well, here we are today. Trump is going after all of them. I just listened to a hearing where Congressman Lou Correa was weeping and crying about a bunch of innocent illegals being deported. And ICE didn't back down a bit. They've gone after, there's like only 14%.
Listen to that contradiction of terms. Innocent illegals.
Yeah, I mean, it's nonsense. There's nothing. Yeah, there you go. I phrased it perfectly, did I not? This is the madness that is the Democrat Party.
It is madness.
I'm very confident with the Bianco governor. We're going to have an ally in the White House, in Sacramento, that will assist the White House, assist federal law enforcement. I could see him taking steps saying, I'm not going to enforce Senate Bill 54. Open up your jails, let ICE in. Because that's something too. You don't have to enforce certain laws.
People are not understanding that that's the tremendous amount of the problem that custom immigration enforcement has had, and the U.S. Border Patrol. Blue states, blue cities, like we are a sanctuary state. It would be so easy if law enforcement, sheriff, and local police were working with custom enforcement agencies to pick them up once they're released from jail. Let them know, and illegals in here, they're getting released tomorrow at 12:45 p.m.
I agree.
Just giving you a heads up. They'd be right there, get them, gone. But that's not happening. They're releasing them. They're not working with immigration and custom officials. And that's what's been happening in Minneapolis and all over the place, all over California. Just law enforcement working with federal customs and immigration enforcement would be quelling and curbing so much of this. It's a simple solution.
Together. That's why Minnesota was a problem. This is why you saw all of these insurrectionist protests, because the state is on sanctuary status. That's all gone, by the way. The governor and the mayor of Minnesota have completely backed off. Whatever Trump was able to do, ICE is going into the jails in Minnesota. You have sheriffs across the state of Minnesota who are complying. That's something else I want to speak to. People have gone after Bianco regarding, he is still the sheriff of Riverside County. He has joined the lawsuit to deal with Senate Bill 54. I'm glad for it. I don't understand the full challenges that a county could face if they just blow off Senate Bill 54. He articulated the problem. There's a constitutional duty to the country, and then there's the constitutional demands that are placed by the state. He's in conflict. Shame on Senate Bill 54. it's one thing to stand up to the COVID lockdown orders, but I don't know what the repercussions would be if he allowed ICE to flood in to the jails at this time. I don't know. Would he lose funding? These are things that I respect, that this is a dicey issue. So I'm not going to hang him from a tree if he isn't just blatantly, pushing off SB. And besides, let me finish this, because with SB 54, even Governor Brown knew it was crazy. So he created a whole bunch of exceptions that you could allow. They could still comply with ICE detainers. So that is something that I hope the sheriff is still doing. I know the sheriff in El Dorado County was DeGostini, I think was his name. I'm not going to comply. ICE is coming in. I don't know what happened to him. Nothing bad that I know of. He did eventually retire.
Sheriff DeAgostini retired, and the guy, his undersheriff who won the election, is Jeff Lykoff, and he's doing an extraordinary job.
Does he let ICE in? Does he just blow off the state?
No,
he doesn't.
He cooperates.
He cooperates with ICE, or he what?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So he's violating Senate Bill 54. He doesn't care.
What is that? Explain for those who don't know.
Okay.
Obviously, he's been around for a while.
That's the so-called Values Act. That was the sanctuary state law. What it basically said was that states could no longer participate in the 287G program, which is that sheriff deputies could be deputized immigration officers as well. That was discontinued. Donald Barnes told me that directly. We no longer allow them in the jails. We're not allowed to because of Senate Bill 54. But it also said that they could not honor ICE detainers. Those are civil warrants. They're not criminal. So they had the greater leeway to ignore those civil warrants. Senate Bill 54 ordered all the sheriffs, the jails, had to disregard those civil detainers entirely. Now, there was a selected class of serious crimes where detainers could be honored still. But sheriffs also had the opportunity, they could go further and ignore the detainers entirely. They were not required to honor the detainers. They were not required to honor them, and they were required not to honor them in a broad set of categories. Now, of course, most of the sheriffs along the coast in LA County and San Francisco, they're going to go all in. Villanueva, in a former life, I'm in LA County. He was the sheriff from 2018 to 22.
And he's running again.
He's running again as a Republican now, so he's changed his tune, and I'm happy about it. But at the time, he was offering to expand the protected class of crimes that a detainer would not be honored. This is what was happening initially. He went from woke to awake when his deputies got assassinated and when the county cut his funding. Then he switched his tenor. He switched his vision. He began issuing more CCWs. Now he's a Republican. Now he works with ICE. He even said it. We allowed ICE in the jails from time to time, even during his first tenure, because that falls within the confines of that select category where a detainer could be honored, or it would be permitted for the sheriffs to allow them in the jails.
So the Senate Bill 54, which I wish I knew more about it. I wanted an explanation just because I didn't know about it. But since it was a Senate bill, means we never even voted on this.
It was in the legislature. This was 8 years ago. I mean, really, Charles, when did you start your podcast?
4 years ago.
Okay, I got you then. Yeah, so I was very active in fighting Senate Bill 54. We went to a number of cities where they issued resolutions or stays of compliance. I was at Los Alamitos live. They had 2 hearings because it was a ordinance that they passed. They called it a constitutional ordinance. They literally defied the state and said, we are going to work with ICE because they're a charter city. A select number of cities in California are charter cities. They basically are entities unto themselves. They can set their own policy. Their own charters serve as like constitutional governance within the city. They can step out and do their own things. They're also responsible for their own pension costs, etc. But they have the authority to kind of break away or establish their own authority in certain ways. And Los Alamitos went all the way and said, we're going to disregard Senate Bill 54. They did pass the ordinance. It was in place for about 2 years. There were a number of lawsuits that came through, and then a new city council took over and they rescinded it.
And the sheriffs, because they're elected and they're constitutionally protected, have the power to be able to say, yeah, no, we're not recognizing that, and we're not playing. We're not playing with you. This is
You're right.
ridiculous. Not in
So,
my
I mean,
county.
I'm
The law
giving-
enforcement, the police do not. They do not have that power to
Correct.
be able to say, yeah, we're not enforcing this.
Well, actually, that's
And,
not true. I'm happy to report the chief of police in Los Angeles, he said, I'm not going to enforce the ban on masks on ICE officials. He said it.
And a
straight
judge
up.
just
This was before.
struck that down.
This was before the judge struck it down in federal court. He says, I'm not enforcing this. I can't, because he recognized federalism. The federal officers do not answer to state law when they are acting within their constitutional duties. This same chief of police, his name is McDonald, excuse me. He was the previous sheriff. He was the sheriff of the county. And then he was knocked out by Villanueva in 2018. He was more conservative. That Sheriff McDonald, he opposed Senate Bill 54. Here he was in LA County, very liberal county, and he said, no, I don't support this, because if ICE doesn't go in the jails, they're going to have to go into the neighborhoods and they're going to pick up everybody. And now you see the violence that has ensued. So he called it very well. He was correct. And I don't know why Karen Bass chose him to be the chief of police, because he's conservative. And this chief of police is basically defying Karen Bass, defying the Democratic machine. But I think the other side of it is he's the only one with experience. He's the only one who will take the job, because most police officers who have some self-respect and who care about their colleagues don't want to be in the middle of that political bureaucratic morass where they're supposed to defend illegals, defend criminals, and disregard the needs of the law-abiding citizen. But there is Mr. McDonald. He's stepping up there as the chief of police in LA City. He's doing a great job. That helps us here in the South Bay section of LA County too. But putting this all together, can you imagine a Republican governor then saying to chiefs of police, I've got your back. You got to do what you got to do. We will help you. I'm going to do what I can, so that an attorney general, wouldn't that be refreshing? So that the attorney general isn't harassing you for doing your job. Bianco, the other thing I like about him is he gave a realistic program. The governor can rescind regulation upon regulation. He is ready. I like that the thinking is there. With Steve Hilton, even at the debate that I witnessed, you saw him kind of playing tag along. He would say, well, I agree with the governor. Or he would say, I respect the governor. Governor, there it is. I respect the sheriff. I respect the sheriff's take on this. Or I would never question a sheriff's decision-making. That had to do with the BLM question. So it kind of shows, again, not only experience, but facing challenges, making difficult decisions in those challenges, in those very trying times. You need experience for that. You need to be built in and be ready to do it. And Bianco's got it. That's my view. Now, I'm not, again, no matter what, I look at the field of Republicans we have, they're head and shoulders above. Steve Hilton, outspoken.
We got a strong bench. We really do. And I hope that they don't get discouraged and quit. Leo Zaki, I would love to see him run.
I love Leo Zaki. He's a good dude. He's really mature.
Lewis Herms,
he is very articulate.
Oh my goodness, Scott
He's a
Shields,
good guy.
Scott Shields, extraordinary conservative. Jim Athens, great, strong, Bible believing, card carrying Christian, and a strong conservative. There's such a strong bench.
Yes,
but they need to not quit. So I'm not going to bash any of them. I've given them an open book for this platform. Any of them want to be on the show, and they have. Many of them. Leo Naranjo has been on more than anyone. So I'm going to continue that. And I'm not choosing who I want to see governor. I am, though, it's my job as being in the media to present everybody to you. But reading your articles in Town Hall about Steve Hilton and Bianco and your choices there, I know that you've been squelched by a couple of platforms. Oh, no, we're not going to take a side, so we're not going to print your article. I didn't know that. That's surprising. That's disappointing.
Well, it's not
you should
that
be able to.
Thankfully, I wasn't suppressed, but with Town Hall, they have an editorial standard. They want analysis and commentary, but they don't just want to be a mere advocacy platform. And I respect that. They want to have a wide, broad audience of people watching them, just like you do, as you've interviewed many of the candidates running for governor. So I was able to provide a balanced article, counter, the good and the bad of Hilton and Bianco. I'm going to be writing to other platforms. They'll give me the opportunity to fully endorse. But again, we've got to have two Republicans in the top two. Maybe some of the latest polling suggested it would be Bianco and Eric Swalwell, Mr. Bang Fang Thang. But I don't know. I think he would be weakened to a degree. I think there's a chance. It would have been better with Katie Porter. She's so unpopular. Democrats hate her. They hate Katie Porter. And I would have loved it. They think she's a total Karen. The way that she dishonored the establishment, she tried to knock out Feinstein while she was still alive. She challenged Adam Schiff. Adam doesn't like her. She's an arrogant upstart who's a little too big for her britches. She's mean. Everybody has seen that. She's a turnoff to independence. She would have been a great candidate to run against. I was hearing rumbles. There was rumbling in the background that Kamala Harris was going to change her mind and jump in at the last minute. Oh, that would be even better. A lot of Democrats actually hate her. Black people actually don't like her. Maxine Waters doesn't like her. I know stories that Kamala Harris has crossed Maxine Waters when she was trying to get local stuff done in her district. And the attorney general, she was the attorney general at the time, did not help her, cut her off, refused to assist her. Kamala Harris is one of the most selfish politicians, even among Democrats. That's why they hate her. Gavin Newsom basically threw her under the bus, and then she didn't return. She kind of returned the favor in the book she wrote. So this is a lot of us, we don't know it, but there's a lot of drama in the Democratic Party. They just are a little bit better at hiding it because corporate media covers for them. But
I was just going to say, they don't have the media broadcasting every single little tiff between them.
Oh, yeah. And then in contrast, it's like MAGA Civil War, over this or that. It's like it's a polite disagreement. Yeah, we could still sit down, have bread, and vote for the best guy to win. It's silly. Yes, they amplify the division on the right. They cover it up on the left. This is still a common practice.
Amen, my friend. Yes. I want to thank you so much.
If I can wrap it up, I would wrap it up with this final comment. If you love, I would like to see this. I said it. Let's have 2 Republicans. No offense to Mercury, Herm, Zaki, and the rest. But I think everybody, if you back Hilton, back him to the hilt. Tell your Democrat and your independent friends to vote for Hilton. If you support Bianco, tell your independent friends and your Democrat friends to vote for Bianco. Let's get 2 Republicans in the top 2. That will assure us a Republican governor. And I think we can do it. There, that's my last word on it.
And the reason why, if you're thinking, well, that's just going to split the vote. Well, if we came together and we both voted for either one of those candidates, it's
I know you're trying to wrap up, but let me add this. There are so many Democrats running, ladies and gentlemen, and they're not a couple quit. The Senate president, Tony Atkins, quit. She was going to be the lesbian vote. Well, that didn't amount to much. She's gone. Elena Kounalakis, who was she's the lieutenant governor. She quit. But after that, it's still Becerra. It's still, we've got Karen Katie Porter. We've got Javier Becerra. We've got Ian Calderon. We've got Eric Swalwell. These are top names that are pulling their vote. They're pulling the vote, and they show no sign of stepping away. They're not going away. And part of it is you've got the progressive left and the establishment left and the pro-Palestinian left and the Asian. Betty Yee, she was the former comptroller. She wants the Asian vote. They will not step aside. They're so arrogant, and there's so much division, and there's so much anger about Joe Biden. The Democratic Party doesn't have the pull that it used to have. In the past, you could get an Eric Bauman or Tom Burton or the previous chairman of the Democratic Party here in California, and they would bring them all in a room and say, one of you is going to run and the rest of you are going to sit this out. They can't do that anymore. They don't have that kind of power anymore. That's a win for us. That's why things are really moving in our direction.
Wouldn't that be so? Because, and the reason why we're saying all this is because we have a jungle primary in California. So it's the top 2 vote getters who go to the final election, regardless of party. So that's why it's so dangerous for us right now. If we split the vote, we just splinter everywhere. But again,
that's why I say,
people to you.
Choose
you make
Hilton
up your
or
own
choose
mind.
Bianco.
But imagine if we got together and if our own hapless California Republican Party promoted this. Okay, everybody, let's cut the state in half at Bakersfield. Everybody north of Bakersfield, you vote for Hilton because he's a San Fran guy. Everybody south Bakersfield and south, you vote for Bianco. There you go.
That's good.
And that would be enough to make them both winners, and they both face off in November. That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
I think a dual endorsement. I think the state party should change a rule and say, we're going to endorse both of you, 2 Republicans. That's what I would do. I'm serious. Maybe they'd have to change the bylaws a little. Not that they follow the bylaws, but why not?
That would be fantastic. That would make us absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah.
And then get good people running for other offices as well. I just don't want to see, because I just admire and respect so many who are running on the right for governor. I don't want them to get discouraged and never try again for anything else. We need those people. We need those men and women. Thank you, Arthur Schaper. Where do we find you? How do we support you?
You know, you talked about protecting kids. I always want to remind people of massresistance.org. I'm so privileged to work for that group. We are really kicking butt to fight all the LGBT perversion in the schools. But just for me personally, you'll find me at Town Hall, American Thinker, American Greatness. I also have my own blog, ashopper1.blogspot.com, which is a summary of all the other things that I have written. Please feel free to share all of that with everybody, Charlie. And thank you again for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Always, buddy. Thanks, my friend. Talk to you soon. This show you can support through my website at charliesimons.com. Get yourself one of these hats right here. I love this hat. I love this hat. Trump was right about everything. Everything. You could have that hat. Nice big old trucker hat. I got all kinds of hats in there and mugs, especially this one in particular. Thanks to the folks who just bought a couple of my mugs here. I found out that the store that I'm working with, look, let's talk about politics and religion. Let everybody know right up front what you're all about. And then when they go, what's that mean? Oh, Charlie Simons do not talk. But there's other ways you can just give. You can just flat out give and support this ministry, which is what it is. At charliesimons.com, CharlieSimons.com. And one more thing, we all want to be healthier. This company right here, that's nuevalife.com/Charlie Simons. If you hold your phone up there, your camera, and that little QR code, it'll take you right to it. Or if you type it in, put my name, my full name, CharlieSimons at the end. So it's Nueva, NUEVA, life.com/Charlie Simons. That'll get you a 10% discount on all natural products, health products for inside and outside your body. Try it. What do you got to lose? Let's get healthier in 2026 so we can stick around and watch the great things that are going to happen. Right? May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America, but most importantly, America bless God.